The Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu. Imagine you're walking through a moonlit garden where every shadow seems to hold a secret. Every rustling leaf whispers something just beyond your understanding. You pause beside a still pond, watching how the water reflects the moon without effort, without intention, simply by being what it is. In this moment of quiet observation, you begin to sense something profound about the nature of existence itself, something that cannot be grasped through force or analysis, but only through a kind of gentle surrender to what already is. What would it mean to live your life like this water, accomplishing everything by doing nothing at all? This ancient question lies at the heart of the Tao Te Ching, a slender collection of verses attributed to the mysterious sage Lao Tzu over 2 millennia ago. More than a philosophical treatise, it presents a radical vision of how to move through the world with effortless grace, suggesting that the greatest wisdom comes not from accumulation, but from emptying, not from striving, but from yielding. In our age of constant productivity and endless optimization, these ancient insights offer a quietly revolutionary perspective on what it means to live well. How might this timeless wisdom transform the way you approach the relentless demands of modern life? The Tao itself defies definition, yet Lao Tzu begins his text with the paradoxical declaration that the Tao that can be spoken is not the true Tao. You encounter here something beyond concepts and categories, a reality so fundamental that it precedes all naming and remains untouched by human description. Like trying to capture flowing water in your hands, the more tightly you grasp for understanding, the more quickly it slips away. The Tao is presented as the source from which all things emerge and to which they return, yet it is not a creator in the conventional sense, but rather the very ground of being itself. This ineffable quality of the Tao points to one of the text's central insights about the nature of reality. You discover that the most essential truths cannot be mastered through intellectual force, but must be approached with a kind of open receptivity. The Tao operates through what appears to be emptiness, yet this emptiness is incredibly fertile, like the hollow space within a vessel that makes it useful, or the silence between musical notes that gives melody its meaning. You begin to see how the spaces in your own life, the moments of apparent nothingness, might contain hidden potential. From this understanding of the Tao emerges the principle of Wu Wei, often translated as non-action, but better understood as effortless action, aligned with natural flow. You find here not a prescription for passivity, but an invitation to discover a different relationship with doing itself. Wu Wei suggests that the most effective actions arise spontaneously from deep attunement to conditions as they are, rather than from forcing circumstances to match your preferences. Consider how a skilled sailor works with wind and current rather than against them, achieving remarkable speed and grace through cooperation with forces beyond their control. The practice of Wu Wei challenges many assumptions about achievement and success that permeate contemporary culture. You might notice how often you push against reality, expending enormous energy trying to control outcomes that lie beyond your influence. Wu Wei suggests a different approach, one that requires careful attention to timing and conditions, knowing when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to remain silent. This is not laziness or resignation, but a profound form of intelligence that recognizes the natural rhythms of change and works skillfully within them. Ancient Taoist teachings also reveal the dynamic interplay of opposing yet complementary forces through the concept of yin and yang. You encounter here a vision of reality as fundamentally characterized by balance and mutual dependence rather than conflict and separation. Light defines darkness just as darkness gives meaning to light. Neither can exist without the other. This perspective invites you to reconsider the polarities in your own experience, recognizing how apparent opposites often contain the seeds of their counterparts. The wisdom of yin and yang extends beyond abstract philosophy into the practical rhythms of daily existence. You might notice how periods of intense activity naturally call forth times of rest, how moments of expansion are balanced by phases of contraction. Rather than fighting these natural oscillations, the Tao Te Ching suggests learning to flow with them, finding in this acceptance a deeper form of stability than any fixed position could provide. In a culture that often demands constant growth and perpetual positivity, this ancient insight offers a different model of wholeness. The text also introduces the concept of pu, sometimes called the uncarved block, representing a state of original simplicity and unlimited potential. You discover in this image a compelling alternative to the endless accumulation of knowledge, skills, and experiences that modern life often demands. Like an uncarved block of wood that could become anything, this quality of openness preserves a kind of creative flexibility that overly defined identities might constrain. Pu suggests that wisdom sometimes involves unlearning rather than learning, returning to a more essential nature beneath the layers of social conditioning. This return to simplicity becomes particularly relevant as you navigate information overload and decision fatigue in contemporary life. The uncarved block reminds you that clarity often emerges not from gathering more data, but from cultivating spaciousness and receptivity. You might experiment with approaching challenges from this place of not knowing, allowing solutions to arise organically rather than forcing them through analytical thinking alone. How might your relationships, your work, your creative endeavors transform if you could access this quality of fresh responsiveness more regularly? The Tao Te Ching's approach to leadership offers another lens through which to examine its relevance to modern concerns. Rather than leading through dominance or manipulation, the text suggests that the most effective leaders are often barely noticed by those they guide, creating conditions where others can discover their own wisdom and initiative. This vision of leadership through service and example speaks directly to contemporary questions about authority, collaboration, and sustainable forms of influence that empower rather than diminish others. Perhaps most profoundly, these ancient verses invite you to reconsider your relationship with effort itself. In a society that often equates struggle with virtue and stress with importance, the Tao Te Ching suggests that ease and naturalness might actually be signs of deeper alignment with reality. This doesn't mean avoiding all challenges, but rather approaching them from a place of inner stillness and clarity rather than anxious striving. You might discover that solutions emerge more readily when you stop grasping for them so desperately. As you reflect on these insights, two key realizations begin to crystallize. First, that true power often lies in yielding rather than forcing, in creating space for natural intelligence to operate rather than imposing predetermined outcomes. Second, that wisdom involves learning to recognize and flow with natural patterns rather than attempting to override them through sheer willpower. How might your daily choices shift if you trusted more deeply in this kind of effortless effectiveness? You settle back into the quiet of this moment, feeling how these ancient words continue to ripple through time, offering their gentle challenge to contemporary assumptions about success, control, and the good life. The moon still reflects in the pond, accomplishing its luminous work without effort or anxiety, suggesting possibilities for your own existence that you might not have considered before. In this space of open questioning, you may find that the most profound transformations often begin not with dramatic action, but with this kind of gentle, receptive attention to what is already here, waiting to be discovered.